Greetings, friends, and welcome back to the Musings from the Mount podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Carenza. 2025 is a year long prophesied as significant for spiritual revelation. Join us as we explore the nature and relevance of the ancient mysteries in our rapidly evolving world. From original transmission of these teachings from Sirius to their preservation to the ages, this discussion examines how these timeless truths are being revealed in new ways for our digital era. Drawing from esoteric sources and modern parallels, they illuminate how ancient wisdom traditions are finding fresh expression in our time of accelerated change. So come along on this journey through the ancient mysteries. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please consider going to meditationmount.org and donating. Your donation helps us to bring you this podcast, as well as all the other programs the Mount produces, both today and in the future. We are incredibly grateful and honored by your support. Now, back to the podcast and ancient mysteries. Being that we are in the year 2025, which is the era of revelation, we thought it'd be interesting because we do refer back to the ancient mysteries, commentaries, teachings, quite a bit. And sometimes we do it in a very 30,000-foot general sense. And because this year is esoterically important in the sense that, there's sort of the conclave, and there's a lot of things that are coming to alignment. And we've touched on a lot of that. But the ancient mysteries, like what exactly are there? So like we realized, maybe we should talk about when we refer to the teachings and refer to these commentaries, what we're actually referring to. Right. But most importantly, how is that relevant now? Especially with the telescoping of everything. It seems like time, information, energy, everything is just on 11 right now. So how do we incorporate these ancient ideas, these ancient mysteries with what's happening right now?
It's huge, Joey. Yeah. This is huge. This is a pivotal point in time where the way in which things are going to be revealed, the forms may appear very different. However, it's still the same essential truth. If you think about the spiritual DNA of our humanity, the mysteries really are the DNA of the universe. It's how it was constructed, the message it contains, its destiny, its promise. And we can't just think of it as discovering the Dead Sea Scrolls. These are not parchments and there were things scratched on them. When we're going to talk about the mysteries, I like to do it in a couple of different ways. One is to go back and trace, how did the mysteries come to Earth? How did this wisdom begin? If you've got a planet that is not aware, then how did this awareness show up on a planet that was not yet aware?
That's a good question.
And then,
was it an obelisk?
Exactly.
Was it a black slab?
Exactly. 2001. So there's something that caught my eye a couple of days ago, and I texted it to you, and it was a quote from Discipleship and the New Age, which is written by the Master D.K. from the Alice Bailey writings, which is part of our lineage, which is why we're focusing on this. And it's basically saying, things are different now. And I wanted to go back to find out where they originated and forward to where they're going. But this was the quote that caught my eye. It says, in the old days, the master gave his disciple a hint or a point upon which to ponder and meditate, or he might indicate some need for changed habits of thought. Then the disciple went away, sometimes for years or an entire lifetime, and reflected and thought and attempted to alter his attitudes without any particular sense of pressure. Today, in our speedier times, and when the demand of humanity for help is so outstanding, the hint has given place to explanation, and the disciple is trusted with information hitherto withheld. He is regarded as having reached a stage in his unfoldment at which he can make his own decisions and proceed with rapidity if he so chooses. So it's all up to us now.
Well, I mean, can we just pause for a minute? What was the general era when that was written? I mean, because I find it fascinating.
Well, this was probably written, I would say, back in 1950. We're talking 75 years ago.
Right. And to think of like, what was going on there and now how apt it is. I mean, that's...
was prescient, isn't it?
Yeah, and well, I mean, just the speed of which things were moving then, they couldn't even begin to wrap their heads around. And now that's exactly what's happening. We have all the information, all the data, and what do we do with it? So.
Exactly, because the data, it's information.
Mm-hmm.
Information has to be transformed into knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge has to be transformed into wisdom.
Right.
And so data is information. Information is an understanding. So an understanding of information is knowledge. And then knowledge applied for the benefit of the whole is wisdom. Mm-hmm. That's how I'm holding it.
Yeah.
Very simply. So when I think of the ancient mysteries, I'm thinking of, well, where did they start? And so we can go back to the book that we've been referring to in several of these podcasts, The Ponder on This, a compilation of the Alice Bailey writings, because it's accessible. And there's a section here that simply says, the ancient mysteries. And I'd like to start with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we'll do what we normally do. We'll read a bit, we'll reflect, and we'll share stories, whatever comes up. But a lot of this stuff we take on faith.
Yeah.
Because how do you fact check this stuff, Joey?
I guess that's really the thing. We've said this before, is that if, don't believe anything, if it resonates with you, then it does.
Well, that's the key. The fact-checking is the resonance. When it resonates in your heart as true, because your heart is a navigational tool, it's also a tool that can tell if something is out of true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, here's the first sentence. These ancient mysteries were originally given to humanity by the masters of wisdom, and were in their turn received by the masters from the Great White Lodge on Sirius. I mean, here you go, what? Well, Sirius is the brilliant star, and there's a very special relationship, it's said, between the Logos, the ensouling being of Sirius, and the ensouling being of the earth, Sanat Kumara. That's the embodied being of the earth. And it's a mysterious relationship. It has to do with freedom, has to do with releasing light and matter. It has to do with playing out, if you like. We're the cosmic stage upon which this drama of creation is being played out in microcosm. Mm-hmm. That's how I sense it.
Yeah.
So anyway, it says it was received by the masters from the Great White Lodge on Sirius. And these mysteries contain the clue to the evolutionary process, hidden in numbers and in words. They veil the secret of man's origin and destiny, picturing for him in rite and ritual the long, long path which he must tread. They provide also, when rightly interpreted and correctly presented, the teaching which humanity needs in order to progress from darkness to light, from the unreal to the real, and from death to immortality. And those 3 lines are from the Gayatri. And this really is what we covered in that 5-part series on initiation, Joey. This is the movement of the expansion of consciousness. Mm-hmm. And we said that initiation was introduced into the planet to accelerate, because evolution at its own rate would take longer than was needed in the greater context. And then it goes on to say, the mysteries will be restored in other ways also, for they contain much besides that which the Masonic rites can reveal, or that which religious rituals and ceremonies can disclose. They contain within their teaching and formulas the key to the science which will unlock the mystery of electricity. And to just basically say, the electricity that we know is the lowest form of electricity.
Right.
Remember that the highest fire, the monadic fire, is called electric fire. There are the three fires. There's the fire of the monad, electric fire, the fire of the soul, solar fire, and the fire of matter, fire by friction, which is basically our electricity.
Yeah.
So the revelation of the mystery around electricity is that we get in touch with the higher aspects of this universal force, this universal energy. I mean, that wasn't there. That's just what I've added. Then it says, though much progress has already been made by science along this line, it is as yet only embryonic in nature. And only when the masters of wisdom are present visibly on earth, and the mysteries of which the masters are custodians are given openly to man, will the true secret and nature of electrical phenomena be revealed. Now, there's something interesting in here, Joey, because it says only when they come back and give us the teaching. Remember when we talked about Atlantis, the destruction of Atlantis?
Yeah.
Just before Atlantis was destroyed, there was a decision made, it is said, that the masters of wisdom were there. They were our mentors, and they walked among us, as they say.
Yeah.
They withdrew. They said, no, we're going to take away the power tools. We're going to break their sword, which is a symbol of creativity. We are going to withdraw. We're going to pull the plug because it's too dangerous to give them any more power and information. We're going to withdraw, and we're going to let everything recycle. It's like digging up a garden and letting it lie fallow, and then it comes back again. Let's see what it's like next season.
Yeah.
And as we said before, we are facing right now in this era the same issues that we faced in Atlantis as a civilization that we faced and failed. But the big difference is it's said that the masters have pledged to return at this time.
Right.
Not because we're good people. It's because they are part of the link. They need to be part of this incarnation of truth.
Right.
And so that's when we have all these things about extraterrestrial visitors, and we have all these different interpretations of things. But basically, the planetary life needs to have all its component parts working in communion, working in community. And so the masters of wisdom that constitute, if you like, the fifth realm, whereas humanity is the fourth realm, need to work together for the evolution of the planetary life, not just the destiny of humanity.
Right.
So it's all this nested lives again, Joey. So I think that's the difference. In Atlantis, they pulled out. And now we're talking about the return, the externalization of the hierarchy, it's called in the esoteric terminology. And that's a little off-putting for some people. So, well, what is this? We got these people in white robes suddenly descending from the clouds and preaching to us.
Right. Yeah, well, what does that look like?
Well, what it looks like is ask and you shall receive. If we are earnest about receiving more light and love, well, guess who are the best dispensers of light and love? Those who've already graduated and have it in their treasure chest, in their chalice, in their heart.
Yeah.
And that's their job. And so they're not going to rescue us. They're going to help us understand and give birth to the knowing. So that's why I think it's important. You mentioned it at the beginning. This is the era or the age of revelation. And it's said that this is the age of the revelation of the mysteries.
Yeah.
So
very exciting.
So it says, the mysteries are in reality the true source of revelation, and it can be only when the mind and the will to good are closely blended and conditioning human behavior that the extent of the coming revelation will be grasped. For only then can humanity be entrusted with these secrets. So only when we are lined up ethically, and that was the issue in Atlantis. They had all the power, but not the morals. He's basically saying, we're not going to make that mistake again.
Yeah.
You've got to show that you are ethically aligned, not just smart.
Right. Well, we got some work to do too, I think. So
Absolutely.
hopefully we can come together on this one.
Yeah. So it said the mysteries concern those capacities which enable the members of the hierarchy or the masters of wisdom to work consciously with the energies of the planet and of the solar system and to control forces within the planet. They will put the ordinary psychic powers, today so stupidly approached and so little understood, in parentheses, in their rightful place and guide man towards their helpful usage. And here's now they're revealing something.
Yeah.
The mysteries will restore color and music as they essentially are to the world, and do it in such a manner that the creative art of today will be to this new creative art what a child's building of wooden blocks is to a great cathedral such as Durham or Milan.
Hmm.
So you think you love your music,
Yeah.
you got your favorite bands, and you got your favorite colors.
Mm-hmm.
That's nothing compared to what's in store.
That's right.
I mean, the true representation of the sacred architecture and the true representation of the music of the spheres is what's in store. But we've got to learn how to be master musicians before we can bring that one through.
Yeah.
We're still working with the building blocks.
That's right.
The mysteries, when restored, will make real, in a sense incomprehensible to you at present, the nature of religion, the purpose of science, and the goal of education. These are not what you think today.
Yeah, that's a big one. And I think we're in the process. We're in the front end of that revelation. Things are starting to be, appear, and people are starting to see between the cracks,
Well, it goes back to what we hinted at in other podcasts. The caterpillar, you can't just turbocharge a caterpillar and call it a higher being.
Right.
It has to go through this transmutation, transfiguration into the green soup, into the butterfly.
Yeah.
But the promise was there all along in the imaginal cells.
Mm-hmm.
So in the imaginal cells of humanity, the mysteries are already imprinted.
Yeah.
The mysteries are simply the revelation of the truth that lives inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody gives us the teaching, the secrets to life, they're simply revealing to us what already lives on our inside that we haven't yet got the capacity to understand ourselves. We're just being helped.
Yeah. That's what I love about the great revealing. It's already there. So.
It is.
Yeah.
So the ground is being prepared at this time for this great restoration. The churches and masonry are today before the judgment seat of humanity's critical mind. And the word has gone forth from that mass mind that both of them have failed in their divinely assigned tasks. Wow.
That's heavy.
That's quite, it's
That's quite a pronouncement.
Well, because...
And it turned out to be true.
Well, because religion is really the vessel or the vehicle for carrying spiritual truth.
Mm-hmm.
But people got so enamored by the packaging that it became dogmatic.
Mm-hmm.
And that Holy of Holies that lived at the center of the temple was ignored, and everything was in the outer court, and we had the moneylenders in the temple, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So it is realized everywhere that new life must be poured in, and great changes wrought in the awareness and the training of those who work through and in these two media of truth. Media of truth.
Yeah.
So religion is supposed to be a medium of truth.
Right. Along with masonry.
Masonry being
like
the
Hermetical school.
Exactly.
Of esoteric transmission of thought,
They somehow got contaminated along the way.
Yeah, they somehow became more of a gentleman's club and less of a school of thought,
Right. Because they were personality based.
Mm-hmm.
What's in it for me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those changes have not yet been carried out. for it will take a new vision and a new approach to life experience. And this only the coming generation is capable of giving. The coming generation is here. We're it.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we, may span a couple of different generations.
Right, but
it's us now.
Yeah.
This is it. We're given the task of creating new forms for the eternal truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, how about that for an assignment?
How about that?
Okay. And they alone can bring about the needed alterations and the revitalization, but it can and will be done.
It's interesting how when being written back in the 1950s, and how it wasn't written necessarily for that time, and now you read this now and you realize, and I like that, and it will be done, and you see it, you can see it happening. It's happening now.
There are several places in DK's writing where he says, "Look, I write not for you now, but for the coming generation."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or in his treatise on cosmic fire, well, this you may not get it now, but this will be more understood after 2025 onwards. This is basically, and you're not equipped yet.
Right. And I think that's why we were so interested in the episodes we've been doing for this year, and this year in particular, this is a transformational year. A lot of these teachings, a lot of this information was written for this year going forward.
Exactly. So it isn't, let's have a podcast on something ancient and old.
Mm-hmm.
We are part of the regeneration, the revitalizing, and the revelation of these timeless mysteries.
Yeah.
It's the ageless wisdom teaching. It ain't the ancient, encrusted teaching.
Yeah.
We put the barnacles on the boat.
That's right. Well, it's also us to clean them off. So.
We have to clean them off.
Yeah.
The mysteries are revealed not primarily by the reception of information anent them or about them and their processes, but, and he puts this in italics, but by the action of certain processes carried out within the etheric body of the disciple. These enable him to know that which is hidden. They put him in possession of a mechanism of revelation and make him aware of certain radiatory and magnetic powers or energies within himself, which constitute channels of activity and modes whereby he may acquire that which is the privilege of the initiate to own and use. So not only is it a hardware upgrade, it's a software upgrade, Joey. Mm-hmm. That's how I just read that.
Yeah, I do too, and that's that appeals to my vision of the world.
We're getting new hardware and we're getting software.
That's right.
New operating system.
Point release.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the final sentence of this particular section, I love. When I read it this morning, I went, "Oh God, this is a cosmic tease."
Mm-hmm.
It says, "The only true mysteries are those points of revelation for which the mechanism is inadequate."
Yeah. I mean, that is such a great line, because it's everything. It's like, you can't run, you can't run certain apps on the iPhone 1, I mean, it's everyone can understand that in a computer sense.
No longer supported.
Yeah. Yeah, this app is no longer supported. This version is no longer supported.
This way of thinking is no longer supported.
And
this way of portraying religion is no longer supported, or no longer supports, and is useful to humanity.
And you can see that just in the versioning of the most recent generations of humans and the differences. You see, the millennials have a flavor, Gen X has a flavor, the Boomer generation has a flavor. And then Gen Z and Gen Alpha have a flavor too, and you really see it. I think in Gen Z, they just don't have the time or the inclination or even the hardware to run a lot of the things that we used to consider more common. For better or for worse.
It's interesting. I just joined a Facebook group on communities, building communities, because I've been part of communities. But the stuff on there is amazing. It's reels, 3-minute reels of how to do this, how to build this, how to grow this. They've distilled it and they've done it in such it's artistic and scientific and informative. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Whereas, I do a PowerPoint presentation, I do this. And then in this reel, they've captured the spirit as well as showing you what to do.
Yeah. It's amazing.
And
it really
I'm going,
is.
wow.
It's the mass dissemination of like what I consider is everyone's got something that they figured out. It doesn't matter how small or grand or what it is. You figured out the best way to do this one thing, but now we're all sharing it with each other. And then once it's shared and it's now collated and collected and becomes part of our collective consciousness.
So it's being expressed differently.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the original, because we talked about when the mysteries first landed on Earth.
Right.
They've been preserved in something that's called the Old Commentary.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's still timeless wisdom, but how it was captured. And as I say, it's not the Dead Sea Scrolls. These are not parchments.
Right.
And so here's what DK says. I felt it might be of interest to students to know this much about the ancient textbook of the adepts called the Old Commentary. The Old Commentary has no assignable date. Should I endeavor to tell you its age, I have no means of proving the truth of my words. I have sought in the above few phrases to give the gist of what is expressed in the commentary through the means of a few symbols and a cryptic text. These old scriptures are not read in the way of modern students reading a book. They are seen, touched, and realized. The meaning is disclosed in a flash. Let me illustrate. The words, and he gives this phrase, the one enunciates the word which drowns the triple sound. It's an esoteric phrase. Mm-hmm. This is depicted by a shaft of light ending in a symbolic word in gold superimposed over 3 symbols in black, rose, and green. Thus are the secrets guarded with care. And these were sort of embossed on metal.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, I remember reading in another part of the Tibetan's writing, that the metal used is an allotrope of silver. An allotrope simply means another form of the same substance.
Mm-hmm.
It's another form of silver that our material science has not yet uncovered.
Right.
So they did it through the touch. It's rather like an uncle of mine who was blind could read Braille.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the sense of touch is amazing, because we say, are you in touch with something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So to be in touch with something at the highest level is just like feeling something, feeling something out.
Yeah.
So you feel it out. That's how it's transmitted to you. You get a realization. It's not a mental knowing, oh yeah, now I understand what you just said. It's as though the DNA, the picture, the whole history of evolution that's contained and distilled is being transmitted to you.
Mm-hmm.
And at some level you go, wow. And you're touched by it.
Yeah, the eternal wow, yeah.
You're touched by it because you're in touch with it.
Yeah.
It's a deeper level of knowing. We said that knowing is not knowledge. Knowing is a deep realization of the truth that lies beyond words, but actually is an expression of the original word.
Right.
The sacred word of creation, the AUM.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting just to look at that. And then a number of years ago here at Meditation Mount, we put together a little booklet, and it's out of print now. And I don't know if we would even want to reprint it.
Maybe we can make a PDF of it or something.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah. But I just found it this morning, and I thought, this is really interesting, because it gives text, but this text is DK is translating it from the hieroglyphics, from the imprinting, from the colors and the symbols and the shapes and everything. And it refers to, for instance, the life of the monad. We've talked about the monad, this highest fire coming down on earth, and then the fire of knowing and wisdom growing and expanding, and the the merging of the different fires back into the one. So it's the return of the prodigal son, prodigal daughter to the father's house. Mm-hmm. This is how DK has given words to what's imprinted in the old commentary about the life of the monad. I'm not going to unpack it because I don't need to. And also, the idea is that we listen to these impressions. We let us be impressed by these words, not try and figure it out. The drops of moisture grow heavier. They break as rain upon the lowest plain. They sink into the clay and cause it to blossom. Thus do the waters cover the earth and all the cycles. Two are the objectives of the fathering drops, and each attained in vastly separated cycles. One is to sink and lose itself in the dark soil of the earth. The other is to rise and merge itself in the clear air of heaven. Mm. Between the two vast periods, the heat doth play its part. But when the heat grows fierce, the fires within the earth and beneath the waters burn hot and flow. The nature of the many drops is seen to undergo a change. They dissipate in steam. Thus doth the heat perform its part. Later again, the fire electric flashes forth and turns the steam to that which will permit its passage through the air. So this is the descent of the monad, landing on the earth, coming back out again and returning back with a knowing of itself. Mm-hmm. This is the journey of self-realization of the monad, summed up in about 4 sentences.
Yeah.
This is billions of years of evolution just contained in those phrases.
Yeah.
So that's why the old commentary that's it.
Right.
These are the formulas,
and they're deeply allegorical and like they're very layered, and you can spend a lifetime considering those sentences.
Yeah, and I was thinking we could spend a whole episode just reading these and allowing them to impress themselves upon us. I think it may be a bit too much to do it all, but I'm just wondering, Joey, if there's...
we can do a couple.
It's... we put together this booklet, which is 32 pages. Mm-hmm. So why don't we read, if you like, a page and a half?
Okay.
And every now and again, I'm going to sort of change my voice, and I'll be speaking the parenthesis, which Alice Bailey provided. So just to help us understand what was meant. But I don't want to break the flow, because this is how the history and destiny of the solar system and of the earth is recorded in the most ancient form. And this one has to do about illumination and the entrance into light.
Okay.
The sevenfold light of the Father brought from chaos into the ordered day his purpose and his plan. The 7 supreme gods bent to this purpose and with united will ordained the plan. The bear and the lion met together and laid their plans in conformity with the plan. And with the purpose of their controlling Lord, they called on Father Time, Saturn, for aid and strength, and he responded to their triple call. To this call, likewise, the eternal youth responded, Sanat Kumara. This is the Lord of Shambhala. He set himself anew to learn the plan, aided by Father Time, yet unaffected by the Lord of Time, for he himself was timeless, though not the lives which he enfolded in his thought and plan. The birth of time. Then the triple light which came from the bear in his high place, from Leo in his lesser place, and from Saturn in his little place, poured into the planetary place of power. Shambhala was informed. The Lord of life and of the world took action. The little one within the greater whole, this is the individual human disciple, Alice Bailey says, likewise responded to the triple light, but not until the cycles passed and passed again. Late in the day of time, Shambhala sent a call, relayed from voice to voice, and rolling forward on the Om. This is the O-M, not the A-U-M, the O-M. The disciple, hearing that sound, lifted his head. An impulse from the base mounted in time and space. Leo, within the heart and head, shouted aloud and stood whilst Saturn did his work. And thus the twain were one. Now, we could go on. I'm not sure if we want to read 2 pages of this because, if you're just listening to this at home or driving down the freeway, I don't want you to go off the road. But you get the picture that this is the picture, this portrait to us. But this picture is not just a graphic representation. It is a graphic.
Mm-hmm.
It really contains sense, touch, vision, everything. All the senses are contained in the relaying of the wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we've lost.
Mm-hmm.
And so the relaying of wisdom has just been some words, which have ended up in the beliefs, creeds. You either believe it or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Are you religious? What does that mean? Do you believe in this doctrine?
Right.
Are you a Christian? Are you a Muslim? Are you a Jew? Basically, do you subscribe to this creed?
Mm-hmm.
And yet we know that they all are the best interpretations that could be made at that time of an eternal truth.
Mm-hmm.
So the revelation of the mysteries that I believe is starting this year, the full-on revelation of the mysteries, is a new dispensation. It's a new form, just like the caterpillar can't make it beyond a certain stage.
Mm-hmm.
We're entering like the green soup stage of the mysteries, and something new will be born. And you alluded to your understanding of how it's showing up in the computational world and in science. What else have you observed, Joey, about the revelation of the ageless wisdom through these particular?
Well, it may not seem like it, but I think there's also a telescoping and the evolution of empathy and compassion, most poignantly in the younger generations. In the sort of the millennials were kind of the first generation that had that were born with into the vocabulary and the vernacular of this, and then the following generations, Gen Z and Gen Alpha. They just approach life in a different way. They're almost like a new species of human.
I think what we're witnessing is the old, which represented the separated self on its journey,
right?
Which is the hero's journey that you and I have talked about,
mm-hmm.
and now it's a group journey.
Absolutely, yeah.
They're wired for we.
Exactly, and that's scary to people who who are on the opposite end of that spectrum.
Well, who are still living in a separated world and figuring out, how do I survive? How do I get on? How do I succeed?
Yeah.
Rather than, how do we come together in community?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, so for me, that's how I see it. And I see it as these, some of the more orthodox religions, some of the more strict religions, it's like this, they coalesce around this code base. And from a computational perspective, that's nice if that code base works and it works for as many people. It can hold it can hold the space and operate with other different code bases. But if it can't, I think what we're seeing now is an absolute impatience and unwillingness for that to be the status quo.
Well, it wasn't open source.
Right. It wasn't open source.
You couldn't think with it.
Yeah.
You would get whoever's in charge would come and say, hands off.
Yeah. And I think we see that too. And just this week, there was a release of DeepSeek, which is an open source AI model. That is like, we'll see what happens, but for the time being, it's blowing the doors off of everyone. And And of course, that's just going to keep happening. I think the more is revealed, like the more that's transparent. I think now more than ever, people have the capacity to work with this information and turn it into knowledge.
So when we talk about access to knowledge, what we're talking about is access to a knowing of the truth of who we are.
Right.
And we often repeat in these podcasts that the three principles that we work with here at Meditation Mount, principle of essential divinity, that actually affirms that inside of each one of us, the truth is alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A spark of the Creator.
Absolutely.
A note of the original word is inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to us to reveal it.
Yeah.
Now, when that collectively is packaged as a religion, if you don't buy it, then you're told that you're a non-believer, you're an unbeliever, you're whatever you are. But what we're seeing now, the truth is the truth. And how can it be shared? Well, what if the truth is love? Then maybe the new religion is how we love each other.
Yeah.
It's not a doctrine. It's not a creed.
I think that's where we're heading.
It's a living reality.
Yeah.
Religion is a living reality.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that, and because it's the most obvious too. We don't need a doctrine or a language to understand compassion and love and empathy and caring.
And I don't want to pick on any one religion, but I just want to use one as an example because I was close to it. I grew up in England, went to a high church, High Church of England, which was, they said it was one step below Catholicism.
Yeah.
We had all the trappings, but we didn't have the Pope.
Right.
And there it was very clear that you didn't have direct access to God.
Yeah.
If you wanted forgiveness, if you wanted to talk to God, you go to a priest.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a middleman.
Yeah. And that seems almost like, just an anathema to the spirituality that pervades, I think, the world right now. Is like, you have access to everything.
And if you enter the wrong password too many times, your access is denied.
Right.
You're excommunicated.
Yes.
Because you've done the wrong thing too many times.
Yeah.
So I'm just using that in sort of slightly light-hearted way, but what it says is anytime we set up a rigid system of belief and doctrine, there are rules associated with how we should believe, not what the truth is and how we can allow that truth to enter into us and call forth the truth that eternally lives inside us. Let's face it, the mysteries simply are stating that which is living at the deepest part of ourselves, of which we yet have not revealed, or we don't have the wherewithal to express it. And that's what evolution's about. Evolution is the building of the capacity to express the truth that lives within us.
Mm-hmm.
And religion is supposed to be an aid.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I said it failed.
Right. It's supposed to be it's supposed to convey and to teach and to hold instead of corral and withhold. But I mean,
well, yeah, and it then becomes what can we call it politely? Well, yeah. Well, I'm not sure how to say it politely, but it becomes a colonizing force.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we have the work of the missionaries.
That's right.
Now, is the mission to release the light of life and the light of love inside each human, or is it to have them believe in a particular story?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question, and that seems to be self-evident in the way that things used to be, and I think that's the changing nature of the way things are now.
It's a very fine line. We've had this conversation here at Meditation Mount because we do have a spiritual lineage.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a mission, and we've said we have a mission, but we're not missionaries, and yet we do put forward the three principles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe those principles are things that you have to believe in. I believe they are statements of the original Trinity of truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The original three rays the original three colors that gave birth to all colors and all movement, all sound. So I believe that what we're working with are principles and not dogmas and creeds. Now, if we were to tell people they had to believe in it, that'd be different.
Right.
But we're just saying, How about considering that you are a divine person and your job is to be divinely ordinary, is to go about your daily life, chop wood, carry water, and then after enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
Exactly.
But with a heart full of joy and benevolence.
Not a bad deal.
So who knows how these things will show up? But we are now right at the beginning of this new edge, the age of revelation. And if you understand, revelation is simply to reveal that which already is.
Yeah, I think that's the important part is when we talk about this stuff, it has this sort of, mostly due to Catholicism, it has this kind of scary end of times, fire and brimstone kind of connotation to it. But revelation just really means to just reveal what's already there in the same way that a sculptor reveals what's already inside the marble,
And if you read some of the esoteric texts about revelation and the breaking of the seals, those are the opening of the chakras.
Yeah.
And of course, they produce explosions, they produce electricity, they produce all these things on the outside, but it's a revelation of the inner fire. Of course, it's going to destroy the old forms. That's what fire does. I
mean, in the most simplest form, anyone knows who gets on a health kick that if you haven't worked out in a lot of years, you start getting those joints moving and getting the fascia broken up. It's the same thing. You're breaking those seals. You're allowing energy to flow. You're allowing the revealing of new and interesting things. So it's all related. It's or as they say, it's turtles up and down.
It certainly is. So maybe we could. I'm not sure we can close out. Who knows? We may even do a second podcast on this, but. DK talks about the new teachings.
Okay.
And that's what we're moving into.
Yeah.
And he makes a bold statement. He said, what are some of these newer truths for which I am responsible as transmitting agent to the world of occult students? So he's been given an assignment. He's very humbly saying that, hey, I've been asked to transmit it in a new way.
Yeah.
He's just owning his assignment.
Sure.
He's not saying, look at me.
Yeah.
Let me briefly state them in the order of their relative importance. So these are the teachings that he's got on his to-do list. Okay. I mean, he's got a to-do list. Like you and I have got a to-do list. Master DK's got a to-do list that was given to him. The teaching on Shambhala. Little has ever been given on this subject, only the name was known. This teaching includes information as to the nature of the will aspect. Now we know, because Roberto Assagioli, who was a direct student of the Tibetan and mentioned in Discipleship in the New Age, was given an assignment by Master DK to write a book on will, the act of will, to help bring it down into understandable psychological terminology. Applicable. So he used one of his students. Hey, here's a project. You go and take this down. And also creative meditation. That was out of, that's a distillation and a taking down to the next level all the truths contained in a treatise on white magic. How creation takes place. And the same with psychosynthesis that Roberto was responsible for. That's a distillation and a codifying of esoteric psychology, the books that DK wrote. So I'm just saying that you can see that he's not just doing it alone. He actually asked people to help with his assignment. He's got a group of co-workers.
Yeah.
So this is the crew. So we're all part of it.
That's right.
The question is, what's my part?
That's a very good question. Yeah.
Indications as to the underlying purposes of Sanat Kumara. So this gets deep. It's like, what's the real destiny and purpose of the being that ensouls this planet? Then you get into the mystery of the earth itself.
Yeah.
And the mystery of, we've touched on several times, of crucifixion, resurrection, which is the birth of the light. And so what I'm sensing is that the earth is used as this cosmic stage on which we're enacting out how the light of heaven is buried deep in the darkness of the matter of earth, and how it is resurrected, it arises again and into a greater light and becomes that greater light. So the earth has a mystery, or the earth is here to reveal a mystery, put it that way. Therefore, we're inside a planet that is itself a revelation of a mystery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It isn't, oh, we're on Earth, it's a classroom with 4 walls and that's it, and we've got to learn something. We are intimately aligned and integral parts of the revelation of the planetary life itself, which is a mystery to reveal a cosmic truth. That's when you go, wow, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, number 2 on my list, teaching on the new discipleship. This has been revolutionary where the old schools of occultism are concerned. I mean, basically, he's rewriting the book.
Mm-hmm.
A presentation of the new attitude of the masters to their disciples. And we've looked at that before. It's like we've given more latitude, the freedom to, rather than being told what to do.
Yeah.
We're encouraged, we're given hints, but we don't have to obey. Although when we reach a certain stage of our alignment, what we're obeying or responding to is the call of life itself through the heart of our own being. Therefore, our only desire is to reveal that light and that life. Therefore, any call to us is not an order to be obeyed, but it's a relaying of the call of life. Therefore, we become the revelation.
That's right.
Information as to the constitution of the various ashrams, which is like the fifth realm, the kingdom of souls. Because before, it was first really brought to the attention of the Western mind through the advent of the theosophical teachings starting in 1875.
Right.
150 years ago.
Yeah.
And they focused a lot on the masters. And the masters actually reflected back later in some of the letters like, you overdid it a bit on this. It wasn't about us. It's about you living the teachings in your life. It's not about just revering us and seeing us as these gods.
I think that's an important point because there is that focus, and especially when you start reading some of the older esoteric texts,
Which is why Krishnamurti broke.
Yeah. And we love Krishnamurti.
It was a setup. Not that anything was wrong, but the new mode of revelation was being introduced, and he was turn within. Turn within.
Yeah.
It's within you, which is what Jesus originally said the kingdom of heaven is within.
Yeah.
So if you look to the masters of wisdom as your saviors rather than mentors, a mentor doesn't do the exam for you. The mentor will help you pass the exam.
Right.
You've got to pass it yourself.
I like that, yeah.
So that's the difference. So what else was on this to-do list? This was 2C. A presentation of the newer type of meditations with its emphasis upon visualization and the use of the creative imagination. I have presented a system of meditation which has eliminated the attention paid hitherto to personal problems and the intense earlier focus on the relation of the disciple and the master. The keynote of group fusion of service underlines the newer form of meditation, and not this powerful emphasis upon the personal relation of the disciple to the master and the achievement of the individual aspirant. This was degenerating into a form of spiritual selfishness and separateness.
See, and I see that played out just in the transition of generations here. Just in terms of the humans are just different. These little beautiful little humans running around. They're just different. They're wired different.
And the presentation of the newer type of meditation, this is what we've been entrusted with. Creative meditation is what Roberto Assagioli took from DK's writings and created this meditation form, which really helps us understand that when you have the power of focused intent, visualization, projection. And we've said that you could sum up the whole of the treatise on white magic in 3 words. Potency produces precipitation.
Oh. Yeah.
When you focus on something and bring it to life, it reaches a point of precipitation. That's the whole story of creation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what is a result of creation? It's a creature. That's why when people say we're creatures, sounds like we're animals. No, a creature is the resulting life of creation.
Yeah.
The creator, creation, and creature are the 3 aspects of the manifestation process.
Yeah, they're all 3 essential. So it's
yeah, and let me just quickly.
Yes, please.
Okay, number 3 on DK's list, to-do list, the teaching of the 7 rays. Because it's not just important. Oh, yeah, there's different colors and that, but Roberto Assagioli took the 7 rays and applied it to psychology. To understand the different makeup, the ray makeup of our soul, our personalities, because there are different rays that govern our soul, or our monad has its own ray, our soul has its own ray, and then the mind, the emotional body, and the physical have their own rays.
Yeah.
And so each incarnation, each of us is a different combination of these forces, these energies.
Right.
And we show up differently to achieve different things.
Yeah.
If you look at, now you go back to the planet.
Okay.
And it's a mystery. It's said, and this is, once again, try and fact check this if you can. It's said that the monadic ray of Earth is the first ray. The soul ray is the second ray. And the personality ray is the third ray.
Okay.
And it works with the energy of synthesis, the energy of harmony through conflict, which is the 4th ray. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the perfect place for the reenactment of the whole cosmic geometry in miniature, in microcosm.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. Now, once again, I can't fact check that, but my sense when I tune into this,
I mean, that's as above.
It's a 1, 2, 3.
Right.
That's well, that's an alignment.
Yeah.
And I think that's why there's a special relationship between the Lord of Sirius and the Lord of, or the ensouling spirit of the earth.
Right.
Because we represent, if you like, the stage version.
Yeah.
The production. We're on tour.
It's
Sana Kamara is on tour on Earth.
It's the as above, so below.
Yeah.
We're the stage version of the entire cosmos.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're the production crew.
That's right.
And the actors. We're the roadies as well.
Yes. We're the whole shebang.
We're all the shebang. Then number 4 on his to-do list, the teaching of the new astrology. We don't need to go into that, but he wrote a whole book on esoteric astrology and understanding astrology for what it is, the influence. It's the psychochemical influence of everything. Number 5, information about the new group of world servers. That's about information about the coming together and the forming of a coalition of souls who know that they are sisters and brothers who are called to serve a common purpose. They're called to be of service to the greater good. And this then is being called the new group of world servers. And the danger is then it becomes a club.
Right. Yeah.
And one of the things that he says in one of the books is what we don't want is one group setting itself up to be the coordinator, the synthesizer of the whole thing. No. This new group of world servers is a loose coalition of people. What connects them is the common call to be of service. And that common call comes from the heart of the planet, the heart of their own soul, the heart of the soul of humanity.
And that's where a physical analog would be a Bitcoin node. You know, so
Right.
all these different nodes are just running the software in sync. So,
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
On a need-to-node basis.
Yeah, need to node. That's right.
Number 6, the attempt to form an exoteric branch of an inner ashram. Now, he's basically saying, look, these ashrams that live in the 5th realm, because they're They're the 7 colors of the rainbow. The ashram, there are 7 ashrams, it said, that live in the 5th realm. These are the 7 colors, the representations of the 7 rays. And because closer cooperation is being required between humans and the realm of souls, that we need to create our own version of that. Now, where things got a little strange when people read this is that, I'm going to anchor the first ray school on Earth, and then I become the point of focus for this. And once again, we got carried away with ourselves because it wasn't impersonal. But if we, by responding to the call, start to live the quality of a certain ashram, we become the outpost of that ashram. We don't have to put up a sign saying we are this ashram. By living the quality that is assigned or associated with a particular ray, if it's the 2nd ray of love wisdom, then you have a 2nd ray ashram. If it's a 5th ray, science, then you're working in the scientific ashram. If it's the 4th, you're working with the artists and the revelation of the mysteries through the muses, through art. So I think the thing is to take it too personally. I'm going to start an ashram on the earth. I'm going to be a master on earth. No, it's not about that. It's about bringing these qualities to realization, to revealing them. So any time that we can reveal through, if you like, an aspect of science, the truth, then we become an externalization of that 5th ashram. Or the 2nd ashram, if it's love, wisdom, compassion, education, because that's all about 2nd. So I don't want to overcomplicate this, but what we often do when we read this stuff, it's like, wow, I can make a business out of this.
Right. Yeah, but it does seem, especially in the spiritual world, it seems to turn into everything seems to turn into a grift at some point.
And then finally, number 7 on his to-do list, and I'm sure he's got more, but he's only telling us these 7. Teaching upon the New World Religion. And that's something that we could probably take a whole podcast on, the New World Religion.
Maybe we will in the future. That's because it's a fascinating topic. And but yeah, I mean, that's we like so many times in so many subjects, we kind of have to take a very wide and view of this because we're generally try to keep things under an hour. But I think this also sets the stage for the rest of the year. It's through this lens that we're going to be looking at, and we may revisit some subjects we've already done to kind of put them in a more of a current context, because this is, you're watching the world discover itself and unfold very rapidly, and things are going to be revealed and things are going to be available, and there's a giant shift that's happening. And then so if, it's like the more information you have, the better. And this is a way for you to kind of study and find some new knowledge and
exactly.
Join the play, basically.
And join the play, exactly. Yeah. Well, maybe we could complete this episode with another paragraph from Decoded, because he's basically saying, look, let me put this in context. Let me give you a historical sweep over the last 150 years. He said, look, in the foregoing pages, I gave you certain broad principles and outlined a new aspect of the work which I had undertaken to do for humanity under instruction from the Masters of Wisdom. He is a Master of Wisdom, but there are different grades of that. The teaching I gave there is very abstruse. Little of it can, as yet, be of real service to the majority of aspirants, but a wide and general idea can take form and provide the immovable background for later teaching. I would have you remember that the teaching which I have given now has been intermediate in nature, just as that given out by Blavatsky under my instruction was preparatory. The teaching plan by the hierarchy to precede and condition the New Age, the Aquarian Age, falls into 3 categories. 1, preparatory stage, given from 1875 to 1890, written down and communicated by Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. Intermediate, given 1919 to 1949, written down by Alice Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
Revelatory, emerging after 1975, to be given on a worldwide scale via the radio.
Hmm. And then,
welcome to the show, Joey.
And then the internet, yeah. So, yeah, this is it. This is
because we're here as part of a collective revelation of the mysteries, rather than saying, "Oh, teach us, O Master." The Master's saying, "No, it's all within. Create the conditions where things can be revealed to you."
Yeah. This
is not about the passing on of information and knowledge in the old way.
Right.
This is how do you gain the sensitivities to be in touch, once again, to be in touch with the truth that lives inside you and to uncover it, to reveal it, to unveil it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the era of the unveiling of the mysteries, the revelation of the eternal truth. Another petal is unfolding.
Mm-hmm.
We're peeling away. This is the dance of the seven veils, which was a sacred dance of, you started off with seven veils. This is not a striptease.
Mm-hmm.
It's so when you remove the final veil, what do you have? You stand in front of the naked truth.
Mm-hmm.
Not a naked person, but the naked truth.
Yeah.
So the revelation of the mysteries, if you like, is us going through this dance of the seven veils. So we stand in the full naked truth of who we are, which is what authenticity is.
Absolutely.
So be prepared to get naked.
That's right. All right, Michael, thank you.
Thank you, Joey.